Good morning, or maybe good afternoon. It's a little bit later in the day. Welcome to the Keto Mom page. We are going through chapter 12 of Atomic Habits. If you're going through the book, how are you liking it? If you are following along, I hope that you have learned something and put it into action. This chapter 12, is great. If you watched the live yesterday, I honestly think yesterday was my most favorite chapter 11. And it just talks, the whole book is great. So I wish I could read you the whole book, but I don't think you'd want to listen to me read all day long. So you're going to have to get the book. But the point of doing this every day is for a couple of reasons. For me, so I go through the book. It's a good reminder. I've already read the book in the past. It's just a good accountability for me. Number two, it's to help give you an awareness of the power of your mindset and reading, because I went on a little bit of a rant yesterday, but I truly believe that if you work on yourself and you read and you get your mindset right, you're going to find little things like eating better, drinking more water, working out, making the better choices easier because your mindset is on point. So, happy Saturday. For those of you who are in Saturday mode, I think it's almost Sunday across the world. Maybe it is Sunday. Is it Sunday in the Philippines? My friend Liz is probably on here, and she's in the Philippines. We'll see what she says. I kind of lose track of where she's at, but we talk every day. So, or in Australia, right? Some of you are from all the way on the other side of the world, which I think is incredible. So, we're diving into chapter 12, and I think did you want to say something? My husband is sitting on the other side of the table with the fly gun in hand, just in case he has to save me from these flies. Let me tell you, if you do not own a salt gun, it's pretty great. And he's drinking his protein shake. So we are going to talk about chapter 12, the law of least effort. The law of least effort. So in the book and in every chapter, I love it because they usually have some type of story, science, and data. And then there is application that you can put right into play. So I'm not going to read all the science to you. He talks about agriculture. He talks about all the different continents. He really goes into the power of, I'll read it to you in a second, but the story is great. You'll have to get the book and read it. So he talks about how energy is precious, and he dives into it is human nature to follow the law of least effort, which states that when you decide between two similar options, people will naturally gravitate towards the option that requires the least amount of work. They talk about something in chapter 6 about your environment, and he's going to dive back into the power of your environment and what's in front of you, and you naturally do which takes the least amount of effort, right? It's a great awareness, and so he dives back into his agriculture and his farm. Again, it's a great story. You have to get the book. Every action requires a certain amount of energy. The more energy required, it's the less likely that you actually will do it. So if your goal is to do 100 push-ups a day, he says that takes a lot of energy. If your environment isn't set up for you to do what you want to do, it probably isn't going to last very long. So in chapter 6, we talked about not keeping food on the counter, right? Because if it's on the counter, you'll walk by, you naturally will grab it, and then you will eat it because it was in front of you. We talked about placing certain foods and things in the back of your refrigerator. If it's out of sight, out of mind. He says that. He says, if I don't want to grab a beer, he says a beer. I would say if you don't want to grab pop or juice, first of all, I would say take it out of your refrigerator. But if you keep it in there, put it in the back, right? You naturally won't grab things or move things to grab those in the back. Or I said your kids maybe have different snacks than you want to eat. If you take them off the counter and put them in a shelf or in a cupboard on the bottom, we have a little snack cupboard, it's on the bottom, and I just don't like to bend down and pull out the drawers to look in it. So if you get things out of sight, you're not going to grab them instinctively. So my husband just said, that's where they're at. We don't really have terrible snacks, so popcorn, I don't like popcorn. So anyways, he talks about just how much energy you have to put into something, and if it's going to be hard, it doesn't mean you don't do hard things, but you can set your environment up to where you can have success. All right, he says, look at any behavior that fills up much of your life, and then you will see that it can be performed with a low level of maintenance or energy. All the things that we do in our life have become habits, and we naturally grab the TV control. He says you naturally grab your phone to scroll. You naturally check your emails. All of the things that you do have become habits, and you don't have to have your environment set up. You already do it. You already do them. So, there's so much in this. I would love to read all of it to you, and I'm just going to encourage you to get the book or listen to the Audible. But guess what? Get the book because you can highlight, underline it, keep it on your counter, and go back to it later. So, one of the most effective ways to reduce the friction associated with your habit is to practice environmental design. My husband says, ooh, it's so good. He talks about it in, chapter 6. So go back to chapter 6. I'm just trying to find you where he says, okay, here it is. There are many ways to prime your environment, so it's ready for you to immediately take action. If you want to cook a healthier breakfast, place the skillet on your stove, put the cooking spray on the counter, lay out your plate and your fork, so when you wake up in the morning, you are ready for success. You're ready to do it. If you prepare to plan, you plan to fail. If you fail to plan, how does it go? If you fail to plan, not prepare to plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So my husband is really great at this. He has all of his clothes sit out in the bedroom to work out. He has his water in the refrigerator already ready to put his ketones in it, or his water by the counter. He has everything ready so when he gets up, he doesn't have to think about it. He goes in, he brushes his teeth, his clothes are already there, he has his shoes, he walks out, his water's ready in the fridge, he has his ketone packets on the counter. When we were going to the gym, before we had a gym in our house, he would have his shoes by the door, the keys he would have everything ready so that it naturally created a habit. That's what you have to do. If you want to have food ready, guess what? You can he talked about even having like a food company provide your food, like pre-planned meals. Or if you plan your menu, you have everything cut up, you have your food prepped for the week, it's easier to go into your refrigerator, open up the door, grab a meal that you already planned and eat it, right? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, or take a little bit of time and plan these things out. Set up your space so that you're for its intended purpose. So he gives you some examples. He already gave you the food example. He says, if you want to draw more, you put out your pencil, your pens, your notebooks right on your table so it's ready for you to do it. If you want to exercise, set out your workout clothes, your gym bag, your shoes, your water bottle ahead of time. Is this making sense? And do you feel like you're doing that? So if there's something that you want to do better at, a habit that you want to create, which we are talking about systems and habits to get to your goal, have you taken the time to set up your environment for success? That is the question of the day. He says, and the opposite is the same. If you find yourself constantly scrolling on your phone in your office, or maybe you work from home, he says, take an hour, put your phone in the other room, set up your environment so that you get the things done that you need to do. So you have to remove the bad habit. He says, take the batteries out of the remote control, right? Unplug your television. Make it so it's harder to do the habits that you naturally do. So in the chapter summary, human behavior follows the law of least effort. We will naturally gravitate towards the options that require the least amount of work. So therefore, if you want to create a good habit, you have to make it less work by preparing. Create an environment where doing the right thing is easiest as possible. Reduce the friction associated with good behaviors. When friction is low, habit is easy. Increase the friction associated with bad behaviors. When the friction is high, habits are difficult. Prime your environment to make future actions easier. Super great. This book is incredible. I would encourage you to get it. And if not, you can follow me along here every single day. And the point is to learn something and take action. So maybe you have to go take the batteries out of your remote because you watch too much TV. Unplug your TV. Maybe you have to right now, if you work out in the evenings, go get your workout clothes ready so that when you come home, it's Saturday. So future reference, if you work out in the evenings and you come home and then you're like, oh my goodness, I'm so tired from work, you have to have everything ready to work out, right? I love to do everything in the morning. My encouragement to you is if you have not read the book, it's on the other side of this. If you have not read this book, which we went through earlier in June, and a lot of you are doing the 30-day challenge, it's just owning your morning. here's your first action step if you're just joining. Grab this book, read it, highlight it, and then do it. If you can become a morning person, and it's not even saying I'm not a morning person, it's choosing to get up a little earlier, to own your morning, to read, get your mindset right, to do your workout, to drink your water, to get your day under control, you're going to find that you're going to have a more successful day. So we went through this first. This is the book that's creating systems and habits so you can ultimately reach your goals. And then I'll show you the book that we're going to read after this book. We'll start probably the first week in July. There's so many books I would tell you to read, and I'll just read them along with you so that you can create a healthy habit of reading. Super good for you. This book, we're going to be reading The Traveler's Gift. This is going to give you incredible perspective. It is way different than these two books. These are great. These are straight action. These are data-driven. You're going to look in here and see some science and all of the things. Sometimes you're like, oh, that's kind of over my head. This is going to be an incredible book. It's in story form, and it's going to give you perspective on life. So it's going to be a little bit of a different read, and it's so great. So I would encourage you to grab the book or follow along. This one will be a little bit harder to go through. I can give you perspective here about the story, but you're really going to want to read the stories. So that's it. I hope you have an incredible Saturday. Always reach out with questions. Continue to tune into the page for tips, tricks, recipes, all of the fun keto things to help you on your journey. So I hope you have an incredible Saturday, and we'll talk to you soon.